And what we gonna do to fix it? What we gonna do to fix it? I am also opening up the Q&A today. Questions. So I hope you drop your questions in the chat as we go along. But I'll give people a minute. Just checking to see if anybody's dropped anything so far. I'll give you a minute to say hello. If you're here live, say hi. I want to say hi to you all. Just pulling it up on my side over here. See any comments on LinkedIn? No comments so far. But yeah, if you have questions during this live, I'm going to open it up to Q&A at the end. If you have questions after and you're watching the replay, you can always message me. But why recruiters are not giving your resume a chance? I see a very, 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 very common theme on resumes. So this is for you, right? If you are looking to land an HR role, you don't have the exact experience. Maybe you don't have a certification. Maybe you are pivoting, or maybe you are going from an HR VP to a recruiter to HR VP, or something else. And so you are not getting the interviews. The recruiters are grilling you in interviews, and you're like, oh, it's so hard to describe my experience because I don't have the exact title, or they keep grilling me on X, Y, and Z. It doesn't feel like I can get past them. I can't get past that, right? They don't understand my story. No one is really giving me a chance or understanding my experience and why it's relevant. Like maybe you've been in the hospitality industry in customer service, or like me, I was in retail. You were in retail for some years, retail leadership. Or you're coming from funeral operations, you're a nurse, you're a case manager, right? And you've done many HR related things, or that that's something you want to do, but it's just so hard to get people to see your resume, right? Another thing is that you give your resume to recruiters, or you give your resume to friends or HR colleagues, and they're like, oof, like, this resume is not going to work, right? So you're kind of getting feedback that something isn't hitting, and you make tweaks and tweaks, but it still doesn't hit. Or you are just not getting past that phone screen, right? So I see this like a lot of people where they're just really having a hard time getting past the phone screen. Or if they're getting to the manager still is like, again, very much grilling them on like, what is your experience, right? Like, what is it? Like, you did what at the hospital? Like, you're a teacher, but can you really do L&D? Like, you start to get those big questions. Okay, so we're gonna get into that. But if you're new to me, hi, I'm Lashanique. I came from a background of retail. I worked at Target Corporation in Minneapolis. I was a global business analyst, very different for sourcing, very different from HR. Then I went to Target stores. I led a team of 40 people, and then ultimately decided that I wanted to pivot. I wanted something more fulfilling. I wanted to do the things that I was excited about, which was like really motivating people. I had such high energy. I loved coaching leaders. My engagement survey scores were really high. I was like, I just want to do that. Like, like the operations things. I liked, stocking shelves was fine up until a point. I liked having my hands in a lot of different things. But ultimately I was like, I want to help people. I want to help people grow. I want to see them develop. I want to promote people. I want to help leaders delicately manage performance and all the things. And so I did that. In 2018, I pivoted my career into HR. I stayed at the same organization I was at for for 6 years, and grew my career from an HR generalist to a global HR business partner. So I did not start off as an HR coordinator. I pivoted straight to HR generalist, and then grew my final part of my career, or most recent role, I should say, was a global HR business partner supporting an organization of up to 20,000 associates. And so it was a large conglomerate, large organization. I loved it very much, and then decided to take a sabbatical. And now I've been helping people mostly full time to pivot. And I've helped hundreds of people through communities I'm a part of. I'm a part of the HR Hot Seat community. I've been doing it free. I've had my program for some time. And so I've seen it all. Like, I've seen it all when it comes to an effective pivot. And I like to not gatekeep and share information. I like for you to people to get to careers that they want. I also believe that more people should be in HR that have a varied background, because I think that's only going to make us as an HR organization more diverse in thought, right? I don't think HR means that you should have grown up in HR, and I don't think you to be successful you have to do that. I didn't grow up in HR and I was successful. I think that is a thing that actually made me have a competitive advantage. And so I share part of that for because I think it's super relevant to this conversation, because when you all are trying to pivot into HR, you're saying like no one will give me a chance, no one understands my story, right? And so I used to feel that way, in the beginning of my search. I'm like, oh wow, I'm getting feedback that I could my somebody with my retail experience could never be an HRBP, right? Or didn't have what it takes to be an HRBP. That was real feedback that I got from a VP. And I was like, ooh, damn. I've even had clients like that ultimately landed roles, right? What they got feedback from recruiters, like, oh, nobody's really gonna understand your experience, right? Nobody's gonna get that, right? So to me, whenever somebody tells me I can't do something, I'm like, watch me work. I've always been that way. Just it's been ingrained in me. Watch me work. Not that it didn't hurt at the time. I ain't gonna say like I'm, superwoman. Like I have feelings, I'm the person that like I'm gonna show you how it can happen. I'm not gonna be the person that tells you it can't happen, right? If it's something you want, we're gonna stand 10 toes down to it. So from the very beginning, I realized that telling the story on your resume, telling the right stories on your resume are very, very, very critical and very important. And so one of the things that I have found has done that really well has been the resume summary. So I typically, when somebody has gotten zero interviews or somebody constantly is getting um, to the first round and not making it through, or they feel like when they get to interviews, they feel like they're fighting and they, have to defend themselves and have to over explain, or just feel it feels like pulling teeth in the interview. It's because you don't have a resume summary or you don't have an effective resume summary. Now, resume summary is a thing at the top, not an objective. That's different, but it's the thing at the top that kind of is the first thing they see after your name. Okay. So they're tying your name to that summary. And I treat the summary as the cover letter, point blank, period. A lot of you all are like, well, should I give a summary so I can explain, the trajectory that I've had? I've had a mixed experience across HR. So maybe people don't really get it. Maybe they're like confused about why did I go through all parts of HR and then now I want to be in this part of HR, or maybe they don't understand like why I've been in education for 20 years, or they don't understand why I've been in the military for 20 years, right? Like they might like, how do I explain like why like, is it going to make sense to them? It probably won't. Your gut is telling you right. They probably won't understand your experience because when they read the resume, there's no summary there. They have to make a lot of assumptions. And so a lot of you fight that where you're like, well, they assume that I can't do. What else are they supposed to do? They're taking the information that they have. And so, but I say this to empower you. You have some control, boo. You have some control in that summary, right? In that summary. And that's why I think that summary is so valuable. So while a lot of y'all don't have a summary, so let's say if you don't have one, get one. And then for some of you who do have a summary, y'all just getting whatever Chat GPT says. Well, I can't talk sometimes this week. But so I'm gonna give you some examples. Because I always like to give you tangible examples of what I'm seeing that is just literally not working. This is why your resume is going to the side from an applicant tracking systems perspective, and why it's being pushed to the side from real human recruiters, because they are seeing these ineffective ineffective summaries, right? So they have to be tight, they have to be unique. And I'm going to give you the three things that I always pull out of my clients when we work together on their summary in my Prime Pivot program. When we're working on the summary, we make it so unique and so amazing. Like the reaction you want from recruiters is, wow, I need to give them a call. I'm so intrigued. Like I need to hear and see more of what is this experience that they have, right? And so I found the formula that helps people do that. Okay, so I'm trying to get to um back to what I kind of wrote here. Okay, so bear with me. But if there are any questions, definitely drop those. I don't still don't see any. So let me know if you have any questions. They changed LinkedIn around literally today, and so um I am trying to go to my new spot because I had put a little thingy here. But one of the ones I see while I'm trying to actually pull it up so I can read from it. But one of the things that I typically see is just HR professional, right? Like y'all start y'all like summaries off with HR professional motivated to, or not even motivated, HR professional with like X years of experience, um, data driven, driven by data. And so on the surface, y'all, those are fine on the surface, but they are so boring. So boring. Oops, I thought I saw a comment. So that's why I was trying to go there. Man, I wish they wouldn't have switched this around on me so I could get to the comments. But yeah, so that's one of them. And the other one that I see a lot, strategic and data driven professional. It's kind of how y'all start off, and then you start listing like, oh, I'm good at employee relations, I'm good at talent management, I'm good at talent acquisition, full cycle recruiting, right? And I'm like, there is zero anything of interest, right? It tells the story of the title that you own, which they can see down there, and just the years of experience. Now I do keep years of experience in there, I'm not gonna lie, but that's it. I mean, that's kind of the gist of it. And a lot of y'all's are like 3 to 4 sentences, and they just kind of like list out a bunch of things within the function that you do. And I know a lot of people think that this is the right way to go because one, ChatGPT will do it for you. And then the second reason why is because, you want to, it feels professional. I think it's the thought process a lot of people have. And then a lot of you just like, I don't know what to say. Like, I really don't know what else to say. Like, what else is the summary supposed to have that's going to make me stand out? And I know resume writing, right, is not for everybody. So let's just be clear. And I think a lot of people beat themselves up, especially if you're in HR. You're like, I should know how to do this. But we all got our strengths, we all got our things. And resume writing is not a normal, natural thing that you do all the time. So if you've been guilting yourself, I just want to I want you to release that. That I should know how to do it. Yeah, maybe, but it's okay too if you don't. But and also even if you do it for other people, doesn't always mean that it becomes easy to do it for yourself. So okay, I just want to see my other examples. Okay, I finally found it. Okay, so a well-rounded HR professional with 8+ years of progressive experience, right? That's your favorite progressive experience across HR operations, employee engagement, talent acquisition, right? So we talked about that. A strategic and data-driven HR leader with a proven ability to leverage analytics to drive business outcomes and support organizational growth. Okay, so just because we slap strategic on there doesn't make this a good one. Another one, a goal-oriented human resources professional with managing experience, or with experience managing and coordinating mass hiring events, right? So those are other ones. The other thing here too, if you're a true pivoter, so I see you as a true pivoter. If you have never held like any title, any experience, right? You're a true pivoter, and you just put a whole bunch of HR stuff in your summary, but then the rest of your resume says stuff like, has like just the rest of your language from your own industry or your own background, that's also immediately going to raise a lot of questions, right? So your summary has to make sense for who you are and what you bring to the table. And that's really critical as a pivoter. You can't just like put something up top, get them interested, and then when they get to the bottom, they're kind of confused. Like the story has to match. And so that's why when I make summaries, they really need to be tailored to the person. Every single summary that I make with my clients is super unique to them. You can't copy and paste it. So those are the rules that I kind of live by. So So I'm going to give you kind of my 3 principles, if you will, on making a good summary. So, let's see what else. I want to see if I can get back to the comments. Because I did see some comments. Okay, yeah, I see 3 comments here. Finally figured it out. It's funny, it's hard to get in the front door in HR, but then once you get in, you can never get out. That's so funny. Too often resumes just restate their job description. It doesn't tell the story about what problems you have solved. 100%. 100%. 100%. And so for the summary itself, right, it's also, it's like, yes, what are the problems you're actually known for solving, to your point, right? So what are the problems you're kind of known for solving? So that's one of the principles, but I'll get to that. The first one that I like, that I'll give you, take notes, right? I don't tell, this is just for my clients, so to take notes, but I don't like to gatekeep, but I've been seeing this theme, and so I just really wanted to share with people. The first is, I love to find where you have a very unique unicorn combination dichotomy of experiences. So what do I mean by that? Every person has something where it's like, which makes you like super duper 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 unique, and usually it's at the intersecting of 2 opposing things. And almost every person I have seen has something. You just have to articulate it. So, for example, and I think I've shared this example before, but I was working with actually a non HR person, but I'll give an HR example as well. I was working with a non HR person. She wanted to go into project management. And so, project management, as you all know, is very deadlines, organization, like all the things. And so that's a very right brain. Yeah, right brain, I think. Don't quote me. It's the logical side of the brain. And then but she also was the person that would do photos. She has her own TikTok. She reads books, right? She's a very much also a creative. Those worlds usually are opposing a lot of times. A lot of times. I'm not saying all the time, but a lot of times they are. But because she was also kind of like separating church and state in her mind, the two didn't overlap. But when she came to me, she's like, I'm craving an organization that allows me to have both, right? And so we talked about that in her summary, the overlap of the two of them, right? We literally talked about that. So when I'm reading these resume summaries and all I see is HR professional, well-rounded, da 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 da. Those are not the things that are like exciting. You want the recruiter or the hiring manager to have something else that describes who you are, and that's why I think of it as a cover letter, right? Like the cover letter is where you're always a little bit more creative. You're trying to talk a little bit about what makes you unique, and so one of the ways, and I don't see a lot of people do this. I don't see resume writers do this. I don't see anybody do stuff like this. Is finding that dichotomy between the two. So I have another example of a client. We just made her resume, and one of the things, and as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh, this is so good. She, so I asked them like kind of like a series of questions. I kind of pull it out of you because again, it's really hard for you to know. So it'll be helpful for you to kind of write out the biggest themes, the biggest things that you're kind of like known for, and that will help you kind of get there. But for her, we talked about how she has this like intersection of loving research. Like she can research about anything. I think her company had her researching about wildfire defense or something like that. But then also, so that's somebody who's like, okay, I need more information, gathering, getting into the details of, understanding the what's, the hows, the behind, how the policy works. Now, typically that is at opposing ends of execution, but she also has a wild ability to execute quickly as well. So her brain can go into deep research mode and it doesn't bog her down to actually execute. That is one of her unicorn things. And I was like, we will put that on her. And literally we said, motivated at the intersection of wildly new research and learning while still executing by leveraging 10 years of experience across da 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 da. And then and then we kind of give examples to back that up throughout. But so that's like an opposing kind of thought. So that's the first one. The second one I love is talking about the things that you are motivated by. Okay. So again, I don't try not to be basic. But just like truly genuinely thinking like, okay, what are the things that I'm motivated by that I want to attract in my next role? Now you can bring in things like, okay, if you're motivated by employee relations, if you're motivated by customer service, if you're motivated, so you can bring those things in. But it's also just being super like in tune with what you want and what you actually are motivated by, because when you all are making your summaries, again, you're just throwing out everything. And so then I don't know, as a recruiter, I'm not wowed and I'm not like, okay, she's really going to fit in because her top areas are 1, 2, and 3. Right, those are the areas she's actually really motivated by: facilitation, employer relations, and high stakes communications. Right, she's motivated by that, and that's what I'm really excited and looking for. When you list everything, I don't really like. I have to make kind of assumptions. So a lot of you think, if I put it all out there, I'm going to be super attractive. Now, you might also be thinking about the applicant tracking system. Well, what about all the keywords? We put that somewhere. I put that somewhere else on the resume. We can throw out keywords other places on the resume. We can make sure the the keywords are throughout the resume. A bunch of keywords in the summary does not do you justice, right? And everybody else is doing that. So how will you actually stand out? How will you actually resonate with a real human, right? How will you get that wow? You won't. Okay. So that's motivated by. And then the last one that I really, really love is what you're known for. Okay. Now, there might be could be overlap for you, but typically you should be able to find something different. It's what you're known for. And so finding what you're known for is really thinking about over your career. Like, what do people come to you for? Um what do managers constantly say about you, right? So like really going into like, what are the things that I am truly super duperly known for, that they are literally going to ask me and raise their hands to come and get me. That's so critical and important, because then I know in the first 90 days what I'm going to like be leveraging you for, right? I can see where you can fit into the organization. Again, it's another way to get a wow. Y'all are so focused on like meeting, checking the box of the job description, that you don't think about like on the other side of the coin, that recruiters and hiring managers are really trying to narrow down to like what makes you that unique candidate and how you're going to fit into their overall kind of culture. I did another LinkedIn live to talk to y'all about the other reason why I do this approach, and I talk more about it in my other LinkedIn live. That I think it's the most recent one that I did, is that the stuff that excites hiring managers and recruiters rarely live on the job description. Okay, so I don't use a job description to talk about my summary, to help figure out what makes me a wow factor, right? It's too, you guys are too holding on to job descriptions way too tightly to determine how you show up on a resume, right? How you show up on a resume. You need to show up on a resume how you actually are, boo. Like how you actually are. And so yeah, and then having the thoughts of, is it, well, it's too long, and then if you get all that, then it's too long. It's going to be as long as it needs to be, right? If you want to tell your story, especially if you're trying to pivot, especially if you're trying to break into a new industry. But this is why you all are getting all that pushback from recruiters when they're like, oh, I don't understand your story, I don't understand your background, because you're not telling them. You're not telling them. Okay. So yeah, so I want to see, was there anything else that I wanted to share? Yeah, and for her, like we talked about, she's known for jumping into work that moves the business forward from, and she had a range of things that she did. Like she just has like a one, she was like, listen, like, oh yeah, they asked me to do this project and this one, I did this, and they were all so different. And she's like, yeah, my managers will tell me like I'm willing to jump kind of into anything. And when she was giving examples, I was like, oh my God, like you've literally done system testing, you've done some crazy talent and development stuff, some super ultra, like I literally say here on her summary, some ultra specific policy and workflows, and I give examples of that. So we give her story some more color, some more excitement. And so when I read her summary now, I'm like, that is so different from like 8 years of well-rounded progressive HR experience in full cycle recruiting, being strategic and partnering with like leadership. Anybody can say that, but not everybody can say this. And the combination of these things, no one can say, because we all are so very unique. right? So if your summary doesn't show your uniqueness, then I wouldn't be surprised why you would continue to get those either rejections or getting people constantly asking you questions. Yeah, happy Friday. Happy Friday. Yeah, I'm just seeing all the comments. Yeah, so I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has any questions, but that's really what I wanted to share. That's really what I wanted to share. And again, just making sure. So think about those three things, right? It takes knowing a little bit more about yourself or having someone pull that out of you, right? So that's why it's one of the first things I do with my clients in my private pivot program. And it's why my clients have been wildly successful. Nearly a 90% success rate in 2025. I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of my brilliant clients because it lives in all of us. It lives in all of us, but sometimes we just need to pull it out. We just need to pull it out. If you struggle with what to say or how to write bullet points, we talked about the summary. But my logic and my thought process from my master class can help you think about your summary in some ways as well. But if you want some help to really start to get some momentum on your resume and you want to come to my resume masterclass. So it's called the HR Pivot Resume Masterclass, how to get interviews in a week. Because I have a lot of clients who get interviews in a week, 4 days, 3 days. I'm always like amazed. I'm like, that's crazy. Like, how'd you go from a year applying and no interviews, even with a resume writer, and then now, last week, 4 days. I talked to my client last night. She did an interview and she's like, yeah, I interviewed on Monday. I was like, oh, okay, girl. All right, girl. Love that for you. So interviewed on Monday and she is in Hawaii, on a very small island, a very remote island. But that's because we took her background and we made it super unique to her, right? And having been in the military, she has a background of being a healthcare practitioner for many years, an adjunct professor, all the things, right? And so, like, how do we tell that story? I'm pretty sure she's one of the people that did not have a summary as well. So we put that summary in. That's why she's getting calls for her for roles on a very small remote island. So if she can do it, I don't care where you're located. I don't care what background you got going on. You can do it too. You can do it too. I don't see any questions. No questions. Let's see. Yeah, the master class is on the 28th. So I hope to see you there. It's free. I only do it 3 times a year. So definitely get in there. I hope to see you there. I also coach you live and give you ways to think about it live. So I do encourage you to come live if you can. Otherwise, sign up still. You'll get the replay. The replay will be available for a short time. It'll be an honor to see you there. It will be an honor to see you there. All right, y'all. I hope you have a great Friday. I'm going to be driving in this cold weather to a therapy appointment to meet my therapist in person for the first time. All of our sessions have been virtual, but I'm really excited. And then I'm excited for the weekend. My weekend always consists of working out, getting some amazing tea from my favorite tea place. And then I get this like amazing almond croissant. It's the best almond croissant I've had my whole life. from my favorite every week. Yes, even on my weight loss journey. So I'm down, I think I've shared this, I'm down 15 pounds. So like I've been very excited about that. And then my goal was to lose 5 more in January. I ain't gonna lie, that ain't really happened, but I did go down a pound today. So I'm excited. My steps went down. So I know exactly why. But yeah, all right, no questions. I hope y'all have an amazing Friday, an amazing weekend. I'm doing one more live on Monday. But if you need more, if this is the first time finding me and you need more, you want to hear more about my resume philosophies or how to pivot in 90 days, you can go to my podcast, The HR Pivot. Or will see you on Thursday. Exciting. All right, y'all. Take care. Bye.